I never played Square Enix's Avengers game released in 2020, but on its initial release, it didn't sit right with fans and critics alike. When Square Enix showed Guardians of the Galaxy, I was super hesitant and getting excited. It pretty much looked and played like how the Avengers game looked and played. I eventually decided to pick up Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was pleasantly surprised.
You doubt its authenticity?
If it is what you say it is, prove it.
Guardians of the Galaxy is a third-person action-adventure role-playing game. You play as Peter Quill and take down enemies with your guns that can level up and gain different elemental abilities. You can level up the other Guardians as well, making use of their special abilities to take down foes as well as coming together for team attacks or boosting morale. You can also talk to your teammates and many other characters throughout your adventure and make multiple choices that can change how your journey plays out. The story of Guardians of the Galaxy is a bit of a mouthful to summarize, because it kind of plays out like all of the episodes of an entire season of a TV show. There are a lot of ins and outs and character connections that flow together throughout the story, making everything connect. But in classic Guardians of the Galaxy fashion, it is all kind of haphazard. When Peter turned 13, an alien race known as the Chitauri kidnapped him and killed his mom. He then grew up to become Star-Lord of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Him and his crew of mischiefs get in all sorts of trouble. The gang stop by a quarantine zone to find and capture a rare monster that they heard was hanging out there to sell in order to make some money. Peter finds a weird yellow-shaped jewel and seems to accidentally release some kind of alien form that ruins their plans. They end up getting brought in by a Nova Corps ship, which is piloted by a former lover of Peter. While Peter tries to smooth talk his way out of trouble, he meets his ex's daughter, and everything lines up to imply that this may be Peter's daughter as well.
What about them? They left. What am I supposed to do? Chase them down and beg them to come back?
The story kind of kicks off from there after establishing the major characters and their roles in the game and never lets down. While all the wacky and zany characters keep their tropes from the comics and movies that you may know them from, you will be surprised how well the story is told and how much investment you will put into these characters. I actually never really liked Peter Quill's design specifically, but it grew on me, especially with how well I liked the character thanks to the well-written dialogue and voice acting. There are many parts in the game where you can choose how to contribute to a conversation with the rest of the Guardians, and depending on what you say, Peter can be super nice and apologetic in a situation, and snarky and unforgiving in the next, which in turn can reveal another side to the responding character that you may not get to see otherwise.
Shady sources.
Flat broke, Rocket. We need a big break. Aren't you tired of eating yarrow root?
It's so mealy.
Speaking of dialogue, while everything is well written and voice acted, there can be too much. It is entertaining to listen to all the Guardians bicker back and forth, with all of their different experiences conjured from their contrasting walks of life being their driving force, but it is incredibly overwhelming, especially if you actually do like listening to everything. There is so much great delivery on lines and callbacks to the comics and funny quips and banter, but it doesn't play out well when you're playing the game. Oftentimes you will have to stop moving in fear of triggering the next sequence so you can hear everything. Even if you do not want to listen to all of the talking, just going to the next part of a level while they are talking is jarring because that dialogue will cut out and start the next lines, or the different dialogue will play over each other. It can be an ear sore.
I bet Groot has a rich, velvety voice.
The gameplay is pretty fun, but doesn't really pick up to be anything interesting until you're just about done with the game. You usually start out on your ship, in which you can interact with other characters on board, or look at different items that you may find on your adventures, which may activate a special info dump event with one of the Guardians where you can learn more about their past, their goals, and their wishes. After landing your ship somewhere, you run around the level talking to people, collecting items or scraps to level up your character and gain new combat abilities, or possibly finding one of many costumes you can run around in. Each member of the team contributes a special ability while traversing the levels that gives them a unique use and displays how the Guardians use teamwork to reach their goals. For example, Gamora can reach high places and help throw Star-Lord to reach a ledge, and Groot can make tree roots like bridges. Star-Lord also has a visor that can be activated to scan anything of interest.
Well, take a deep breath, cause we're here. One vault as promised.
And a giant locked door.
Leave that to me.
When enemies are near, Star-Lord has two guns that can be shot in rapid succession that need to be reloaded. While reloading, there's a small meter, and if you push the shoot button on a certain spot on the meter, there will be a quick reload and you're back into action. I liked this feature because it makes you pay attention to what you are actually doing and makes combat a little bit more strategic. There's also a very nice satisfying sound when you hit it just right. Fighting gives you and your team experience, and through that you and your team can learn new attacks. The further you get in the game, the more varied and complex the enemies will get, and applying these new abilities and strategies will make the game a lot easier. For example, some attacks could stun enemies, or some attacks would be better if used on shielded enemies. Star-Lord also has the ability to hover around the battlefield, slide, and melee enemies. The game does a good job in explaining all the combat components where nothing is ever confusing and everything feels good while playing out organically. The problem is that a lot of the time you are fighting either a bunch of weak enemies or one or two big strong enemies in a small environment. The game never offers up anything of challenge with all the cool abilities you get. It never truly feels like you're accomplishing anything when you are just steamrolling into the next talking portion of the level. There are some cool boss fights for sure, but overall, I never had any gratifying moment of completing any of the fighting challenges. The game doesn't throw anything of value or heft at you until it's too late. It kind of falls into how I feel about most Platinum games. There's so much in the game, but it doesn't actually feel fun to play until after you have everything unlocked and can use all of your attacks. But by then, it's over.
We're blasting shots at them and it's so much fun. But if we lose our focus, if we can't let go of these crazy thoughts spinning us upside down, we're done. Who's with me?
This is gonna be fun!
Graphically, the game looks great. There are some truly marvelous set pieces and vista points. Being money-hungry bounty-hunting protectors of the galaxy, the Guardians can end up in some crazy places. With that in mind, the crazy enriched planets you visit don't disappoint. The art style balances on the line of realistic and cartoonish very well, which makes everything feel grounded, but can make the impossible feel believable. All of the characters look good, but the previously mentioned supposed daughter of Peter Quill, Nikki Gold, is the standout. For some reason, she seems to be animated so much better than the others.
You mean the Ebrium-based nano-resin cluster foam?
Never trust something with that many dashes in its name.
The sound and music design is pretty much how you think it will fall in line. Tender moments get their sad string-plucked tunes, and battle music play loud, triumphant horns. All of the menus have this futuristic plinks and plonks, and you will hear a lot of different alien sounds. Guardians of the Galaxy and Peter Quill's thematic essence specifically resonates with times of the 80s, so there are a lot of 80s tunes that play during the game. There is also a playlist on the ship that you can listen to at your leisure. The game delivers all it needs in regard to pleasing your ear holes.
I can be quite forceful.
Peter Quill. I believe she is flirting with me.
Guardians of the Galaxy is a fun game. The game looks great, sounds good, and plays fine. The story is actually the main driving point of this game. It will keep you hooked. It goes down so many different avenues that it never gets boring. While great voice acting performances are to be expected in a superhero tale like this with the Guardians, you would think the gameplay would deliver even more. Unfortunately, playing the game can sometimes get stale, with boring combat sequences never getting exciting until the finale, and characters talking way too much that they become annoying. You may find some fun though with the gameplay mechanics, but while there is a lot there and everything is sound, it never really reaches its potential with lackluster enemy encounters. This is a good, definite direction of storytelling I like to see with superhero games, and this one in particular sits among the best I have played. I give Guardians of the Galaxy a 7.5 out of 10.
Actually, maybe we can stick around for a bit.